Hi, my name is Dan Paulson, if you haven't signed on to my channel before. And I have been made privy to some instructions on how to self-heal from material from antiquity. And what I'm going to do is just plain language it. We don't have the kind of time in our days that they had. So they had a process that they were nesting in there. It's how to turn inward and take care of that pain. And for people that are on this path, you know what I'm talking about, but let me just describe exactly from start to finish what is happening. First of all, our lives are a product of everything that we have experienced and the way we store that experience, that this bundle of our life experience is what is functioning as we're not paying attention. It's functioning in the background, but it creates life conditions for us that fit with it, that might make us angry and trigger. So we continue to feed that back and forth, and people look for ways out of it. And a lot of people are very hurt. In that bundle of stuff, there is shame, pain, abuse, all manner of things that are shame, things that you want to trap inside, that we want to hold inside of us, or maybe that we don't know how to get rid of because they're just so hurtful to us that we'd like to let it go, but somehow we don't know how to. This process is how to go engage with that, to ease it, either to eliminate it or at least to help us accept it. There are things we've done in our past that we're not going to find ease from, or experiences we've had. Maybe not things that we've done, but loved ones lost or things like that where it's going to hurt. We're looking for ways of finding some sort of comfort. And the material helps us there. It doesn't promise any magical anything other than it can elevate your life. There's different ways of using it. You can use it just bits and pieces of it and take care of a few issues, or you can completely elevate your life with it. But let's start with that bundle right here where we are. What do we do to look at it? How do we ease that up? How do we change our past? They tell us to, but then they don't tell us how to. The material does tell us how to. What prevents us from getting it out is we're afraid. It hurts, or it hurts. It's painful. We don't know how. Yeah, it's something that we just can't get over. How do we go after that stuff? How do we ease it? And that's where we have to understand a few things. First of all, our life started out and we kind of networked into that. Our experiences grew from there. And so we are now this network of synaptic activity and patterns. I'm not a brain person, but I kind of envision this branching out of these experiences that emerge from somewhere common that continue to branch out from there. And we have to disassemble that. That is what we are. And we have to look at that. We have to look at it objectively. We have to look at it and say, yeah, I'm carrying that. I've got to go after it. Emerging from that, our triggers, our anger are the things that we lash out. That's how we can spot what we have inside when it comes out of us. We have to understand that is us. That's an important thing. This teaching tells us that you have to understand you're the one that you have to resolve. As within, so without. If your without is not okay, what's the within? We have to fix that. You know, there is more to us that emerges from there, though, than just our experiences. We have DNA. We have mechanisms inside of us that are driving us to certain behaviors that are necessary for a surviving species that may not be necessary anymore. There are things emerging from us that we don't always have a good handle on. So what the ancient teachings instruct us to do right in the beginning, before we're ready to go in, is to prepare ourselves by creating that space in our mind where we are emotionally detached from what we can see. I was thinking of a few ways of trying to help people that are doing this to figure out how to change the pain or the fear threshold. That's it, fear threshold. And basing it on some of my own personal life experiences, I came up with a couple of ideas maybe. One of them is do you ever watch videos where they're like, oh my gosh, did you see that? And they actually will evoke a physiological response. Your palms get sweaty and your heart rate goes up. It's like you're there and you're experiencing that, but you're just seeing it visually. You really aren't there. But look at that. You're having a physiological response as if you are. Your brain is wiring. take scary videos like that. I've done that before when I was climbing and getting ready to do some, winter things or something like that on crampons and ice axe up something steep. And I would start watching videos of people doing that were like, oh my God, it scared me. It would be like make my palms sweat like that. But I kept watching them and watching them and watching them. And I didn't realize this at first, but the fear that I initially had when I went and climbed like that, after a week or two of, not climbing on the weekend and then going back and like watching a lot of videos throughout the day of that same kind of thing, that I began to get used to it. And I realized that I was kind of wiring something different. And I think perhaps what we're doing is perhaps simply adjusting our fear threshold, that we're not used to something and it's outside of our comfort zone. And that if we expose ourselves to it, it allows us to accept more things that used to make us afraid. And I think that might be an important thing to do to start with without even looking at any of the issues, but just grab some videos like that make you freak out. I'll post a couple below to a few that I watched, a couple of climbing ones, and they're, kind of hairy stuff that you're like, oh my God, you would die. What are you doing? One of them actually did later, but watch those videos over and over or something like that. Find something for you. That might not be your sort of thing, but find something that makes you do that. What it's doing is wiring your brain to accept something different. Maybe even put yourself in a position in that where you're like trying to help that person as they're in the video or something like that. And what we're doing is we're building that up inside of us. The brain doesn't know if it's real or not. There's part of us that, you can see you're feeling it, experiencing it without being there. So that's an idea that I had. I think that might be a good thing to do from home, that people could start right away and say, yeah, if I want to go after that stuff, let me give this a try. I'm going to go look at stuff that makes me afraid until I'm not afraid of it, because I'm shifting my capacity to manage fear. That'll be a part of something that comes along later. This will be a foundational part of being able to look at the things that bother us later. Add it in later. You know what? You're training the observer, creating and training the observer when you do that. I just realized that as I'm up on my ridges, up on somewhere up in the mountains, and I'm looking at myself from up above. That's exactly what I was doing in those videos, is watching somebody climb while I was kind of freaked out. I watched and watched and watched until it was like, okay, I got this. And somehow that helped me become the observer. Yeah, I think that's very viable. I think that the more I think about it, that's how you can practice this at home. Yeah. You don't have to be there in person. More added in later. Actually, that's how we become anything. That's how we become network. Whatever we're observing, whatever we're focused on, we are consuming we're growing our brain patterns. We're growing our brain patterns by doing that. So another important thing is to disconnect from the world, where they say shut off all of that stuff. You're being wired by the things that you take in. And if you need to clean some stuff out while you're putting stuff in that is the same stuff, it's a problem. Yeah, you have to disconnect from the world. The other thing is to practice being that third person, where you are viewing yourself from outside yourself. Where maybe if you're riding on a bus, you could imagine yourself sitting across from yourself, looking at yourself, or beside yourself. Do it from above. Build this if you can. Try to practice building this capacity to see from an outside perspective, where you get outside of your physical self, your five senses, and you're stepping into the realm of another part of yourself, or perhaps it's simply can be described as something that we can build in our imaginations, and I'm okay with that. Go and build this in your imagination. Create that three-dimensional image. Be able to move freely around within that image and see yourself and other things going on. Practice doing that in your mind. It'll be helpful. Those are the components we're going to put those together. This person that has that capacity to see needs to have that quality of, I don't have the fear. I'm building part of my capacity to handle that. And then another exercise that I thought of is to If you can find somebody, if you know anybody or you can find somebody that's afraid of something that you can help them over. I don't know how that could be. It could be just children or anybody, somebody at the playground trying to. The objective is here. At some point in time, our separate self, our detached awareness is going to be engaging with parts of our past and is going to be helping parts of our past to get around their issues, past their fears. So if you do that in just helping people get past something that they're afraid of, that is also going to be a part. That's one of the tools that it looks like would be very viable to have. That is a process later on. So any of those I can think of to engage, sound fun to me. Anyway, okay, that was what I've come up with so far. The other thing I was thinking of is, I don't know how to get people out of their heads if they are that way. I think that there are people who say, boy, I'd like to give that a try, but I don't get what you mean about pulling up out of it. And I was thinking of I was looking at drone footage and things like that, but I don't want to buy anything. I think I can come up, a buddy of mine has a little drone. I think that I can probably get him to help me come and do something where, I don't know, what do you think? It's just like raise up and look around and look down at the ground. Try to tell people, imagine that you are doing this in your own mind, trying to give a visual there to how to pull back away. I don't know. I can do it just like that. I don't know how to get people there that can't. Ideas, anyone? Anyway, that was it for this video. Kind of different, huh? I think it's going to be like this now. All right. Love one another. See you in the next video. I tacked this on in the end. Did you make it this far? The material has other things in there. If you want to make a long-term trek from one place to another, it begins talking about some issues along the way. This goes beyond just healing yourself and getting rid of some baggage that you're carrying. This goes to the core of trying to change your humble beginnings or your horrible beginnings, your hurtful beginnings, and rise above and try to elevate. And when that happens, there is going to be problems along the way. You're going to be changing environments. You're going to be leaving people behind. You're going to be hurting people's feelings. They're going to be telling you to get lost. That there will be things along the way that you must be prepared for. If you fit someplace right now because you network with everybody there, but you begin to change what you are, you're not going to keep fitting there. Be ready for that. The people around you aren't going to want to hear it. They're not ready to grow. Keep it to yourself. Find your friends. Anyway, so there you have it. I wanted to throw that on in the end as kind of a warning that the material does, it does tell you that if you're going from one place to another, if you're emerging from the massive insanity to somewhere else, you're going to have to leave that massive insanity behind. Massive insanity sounds dramatic, huh? I guess what I mean is your past. If you're at a low level of life, a low energy level, your quality of life is not very high. That within society, there you can raise up to a very high quality of life or a poor quality of life in there. And you're trying to rise from one place to another. There are people that are already up high, so that's not the case. So the material is adjustable, but it lets you know the further you move from one place to another, the more issues there will be. If you don't have to move far, you're okay. You're going to be fine. Okay, I just wanted to tack that onto the end because it's not going to be applicable to everyone. It certainly will not. There are people that just need to manage a few things and they're fine. But this can take you a long way if you want to. Anyway, all right. Well, I will finish it this time. See you in the next video.